Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are starting Module 6, and it's Lesson 1 from the problem set. And it is dissecting into decimals and fractions and how they are connected. So when we talk about decimals, it means it's a part of something. In 4th grade, we focus all the way to the tenths place. So we learned that there's like the hundreds place, the tens place, the ones place, and then there's a decimal point. And to the right of the decimal point, this is called the tenths place. Listen how dramatic I said that. The tenths place. Similar to 10, sounds similar, but if you notice there's a THS. We know that when we move to the left, we're getting 10 times bigger. From ones place to the tens place, it's multiplying by 10. When we also know when we go the opposite way and we go to the right, it's dividing by 10. So here, if we have one whole and we divide 1 divided by 10, that's equal to 1/10. 1 divided by 10. Also known as 1/10. Notice that there's a 1 in the tenths place. As we take a closer look at our problem set, you'll see that it says to shade the first 7 units of the tape diagram. So 2, 4, 6, and then our 7th, and we're just going to shade those in. And then it says to go ahead and counting by tenths, label the number line using a fraction and a decimal for each point. So this would be right here 1/10. So they wrote it in decimal form and they wrote it in fraction form. So here, this would be 2/10. So we would write it in decimal form and we would write it in fraction form. I'd like you to take a second and finish labeling this all the way up to 7/10. Actually, go all the way up to 10/10, and then we'll come back. Know that 10/10 is the same as 1 whole. Okay? So now that we've labeled based on the tape diagram we did in decimal form and in fraction form, it wants us to circle the decimal that represents the shaded part. So because we shaded in 7 units, we need to figure out which one represents 7/10. So we would shade this down here equals 7/10. Let's move on to the next part. Write the total amount of water in fraction form and in decimal form. Shade the last bottle to show the correct amount. So we're going to look over here and we see that it's about halfway full, right? This is half. So 1/10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/10, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to color, it's already shaded, and we're going to write 6/10 of a liter. And as a decimal, we would write a 0 in the ones place, decimal point, a 6 in the tenths place. Go ahead and try this second one. Go ahead, you have to count based on the number line. These are broken into 10 parts, and then label it in fraction form and decimal form. Okay, hopefully when you did this, you got 8/10. Another way to write it is putting an 8 in the tenths place. So if we were talking about like money, this would be 80 cents. It's less than $1. The tenths place is 1/10 of a whole, so it's smaller. The last one, they're telling us in decimal form that it's 9/10. So now you have to go through and put it in fraction form and then shade it in. So we're going to go all the way up to 9 and then shade it in. Go ahead and do that. Pause your video and then check back with me. Awesome. Hopefully you got 9/10 and you shaded that in, that it's 9 out of 10. Awesome. What I want you to do here is we're going to write the total weight of food from the scale. We're going to write it in fraction form or decimal form. So they're going to give it to us one way and then we're going to convert it and write it the other way. So first we have 4/10. So we need to write that as 4/10. Go ahead and try the next two for the fruit and the rice, and then check with my answers. So pause your video, then check back. Awesome, you should have gotten 8/10. They had it in fraction form, so you had to write it in decimal form, 0 and 8/10. And then this one we had to actually use, I'm going to try to zoom in a little. You had to kind of use this, it's a little blurry, I'm sorry. The top up here is 0, kind of like a clock, and then down here is 0 and 5/10. So we would have to count and see what the rice weighed. So it would weigh 1/10, 2/10. So I have 0 and 2/10. I also wrote it as a fraction. I should probably put my label just in case. So I put both forms there. Here we go. Number 4, write the length of the bug in centimeters. Drawing is not drawn to scale. So they're just saying that like this doesn't represent the actual number. If you measured this, it wouldn't equal centimeters. So what we know is that we have to first figure out how many parts there are, what they broke it up into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know we're dealing with tenths. And then we're trying to see how big it is. So we start at the 0 and go to where the bug ends, which would be at 5/10. And then we're going to write it in both forms. 5/10 or 0 and 5/10. Notice that I'm saying and as I read the decimal. All year we've talked about when we say a whole number, don't add and in there, because when you say and, that means there's a decimal. So make sure that you realize how you're saying it, I guess. The next part, how far does the bug need to walk before its nose is at the 1 centimeter mark? So how far away until we get to 1 hole? So we can count 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. It would need to go 5/10 of a centimeter, or we can write it in decimal form, 0 and 5/10 of a centimeter. Remember, we always need a label. Awesome job, guys. Go ahead and check your work on that. Pause the video if you need to compare mine with yours. Then I want you to go ahead and try matching these on your own, trying to find the equivalent with the unit form, the fraction form, and the decimal form. So you'll just connect them. Check back with me to double check that you did yours great. Okay, guys, go ahead and double check your work with mine, making sure that you match the correct unit form with the fraction form and the decimal form. And then what I need you to do is I need you to go to Schoology and do the exit ticket for today. Tomorrow we're going to do the homework portion of this, and there'll be a video, so don't feel like you have to go and do that now. It's just more practice with it. All right, guys, have a great day, and I will talk to you later.